1 in 4 workers with a 401k never collect the full match their employer is offering them. Not because they said no to it, but because nobody ever told them there was a number attached to it. Quick note, not financial advice, just how this specific mechanic actually works, and why it's quietly one of the most expensive forms you'll ever leave half filled out. Here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. An employer match isn't just free money if you happen to save. It's a formula, and the formula has a threshold. The most common one right now pays you back 100% on the first 3% of your paycheck. You defer into the 401k and 50% on the next 2%. So to unlock the entire match, you need to be contributing 5% of your own pay, not 3%, not 4%. Fall short of that number, and the rest of the match simply never gets deposited. Nobody calls to tell you, there's no warning label. The money just quietly doesn't show up. Picture your first week at a new job. You're handed a stack of onboarding paperwork between an ID badge photo and a parking pass form, and somewhere in that stack is a 401k enrollment screen. It already has a number filled in. Most plans auto-enroll you somewhere around 3% to 4%. You glance at it, think, I'm already contributing, that's good, and click through to the next form without changing it. That single click is the entire trap. You didn't opt out of anything, you just never opted up. For months, maybe years, your pay stub shows a line that says employer contribution, and it has a number next to it, so your brain files the whole thing under handled. You're not wrong that something is happening. You're wrong about how much. Contributing 3% instead of the 5% needed for the full match doesn't just cost you a sliver. Under the common formula, 3% deferral earns a 3% of salary match, while 5% deferral earns the full 4% of salary match. That's 1 full quarter of your employer's entire match, gone for the sake of 2 percentage points you never adjusted. You might log into the account once a year, see the balance ticking upward, and take that upward movement as proof everything's set correctly. It is going up. Contributions plus growth will do that almost regardless of the rate you picked. The account doesn't display a second number next to it showing what the balance would be if you'd hit the full match threshold instead, so there's nothing on the screen actively telling you that you're leaving anything behind. The interface confirms you're participating. It just doesn't confirm you're participating optimally, and those two things look identical at a glance. This isn't a rare edge case. Roughly 15% of eligible workers contribute nothing at all, and among everyone else, only about a third of auto-enrollment plans default people in at 5% or higher. The rest start people at 3% or 4%, right below the line. 1 in 4 participants ends up leaving at least part of their match unclaimed, and it skews hardest toward lower earners. Workers making under $40,000 a year miss out at more than 4 times the rate of workers earning 6 figures, because a 2 percentage point paycheck difference matters a lot more when the paycheck is smaller to begin with. A coworker mentions almost in passing that they bumped their contribution rate up last year after a raise made the extra 2% painless to absorb. You nod along, and it isn't until you're back at your desk that it actually registers. You have no idea what percentage you're even contributing right now, let alone whether it clears the threshold. You open the account that night mostly out of a mild, nagging curiosity rather than any real alarm. Finding out you've been sitting 2 percentage points below the threshold, missing a full quarter of your own match for 2 straight years isn't a dramatic discovery. It's a quiet, slightly deflating one, which is exactly why it's so easy for it to keep happening to other people who haven't checked yet either. So what does that 2 percentage point gap actually cost in real dollars over a real career? Take a worker earning around $63,000 a year, close to the national median full-time wage. That missing quarter of the match works out to about $630 a year left on the table. Run $630 a year through a 7% average annual market return. The standard long-term assumption, nothing aggressive, for 30 years, and it compounds to roughly $59,500. That's the cost of just the partial version of this trap. The version where you're still participating, still getting most of the match, and still quietly losing real money to one uncorrected percentage. Now stretch that same math to the more severe version of the same trap. The roughly 15% of eligible workers who contribute nothing at all and capture none of the match. For that same $63,000 earner, the full match under the common formula works out to about $2,520 a year, the entire 4% of salary employer contribution. Run that $2,520 a year through the same 7% return for the same 30-year career, and it compounds to just over $238,000. Not contributed, not saved. Missed silently, one paycheck at a time for 3 decades. The full weight of walking past the enrollment screen entirely, rather than just under-contributing to it. Neither of these numbers is a worst-case scare tactic. They're the same order of magnitude independent reporting has landed on using this exact formula and these exact assumptions. A median earner capturing the full match over a 30 to 35-year career ends up with somewhere between roughly $235,000 and $355,000 in employer money alone, depending on how early they start. $238,000 sits right at the conservative end of that range. If anything, it undersells what the full miss actually costs a lot of workers. Picture 2 co-workers hired the same month, same starting salary, same job title. One of them spends 5 minutes during onboarding bumping their contribution from 3% to 5%. The other leaves the default exactly where it landed and genuinely forgets the enrollment screen ever existed. Neither one feels like they made a decision that day. One just happened to click one extra button. For the first few years, nothing about their financial lives looks different from the outside. Same commute, same lunch orders, same complaints about the same manager. Both of their 401k balances go up every time they check because contributions and market growth don't care which one of them cleared the threshold. If you sat them down and asked which one was doing 401k saving right, neither would have a confident answer because both of them are technically saving. The gap isn't visible in any single year. It's only visible 30 years stacked on top of each other. 30 years later, one of them retires with close to $60,000 more sitting in employer contributions alone, just from that one uncorrected 2 percentage point gap, and neither person could tell you, if you asked them, exactly when or why that number diverged. It didn't happen in a single moment, a single bad year, or a single bad decision. It happened in the absence of one 5-minute form update, repeated silently across roughly 780 paychecks. There's a second layer to this trap that makes it even quieter: vesting. Your own contributions are always 100% yours from day one, but the employer's match often isn't, not immediately. Only about a fifth of plans vest you in the match right away. Another fifth use a flat cliff. You get nothing until a set date, usually 2 to 3 years in, then 100% overnight. But the largest group, roughly half of all plans, uses a graded schedule that phases in gradually and often doesn't finish until year 5 or 6. Leave before your plan's specific finish line on any of these schedules, and the unvested portion of the match can simply disappear back to the company. Someone takes a better offer 4 years into a job, negotiates a nice signing bonus at the new place, and feels reasonably like they won that transition. 2 weeks later, a final 401k statement arrives showing the employer match balance is smaller than the running total they remembered checking a month earlier. Nothing was stolen. The plan simply had a 6-year graded schedule buried in a document from orientation day, and 4 years only clears about 2/3 of it. The signing bonus more than covered the difference in this case, but the statement still lands like a small, specific gut punch. Proof that the match is yours was true with an asterisk nobody read out loud during the job offer conversation. None of this requires a scandal to explain it. Nobody at these companies is hiding the formula on purpose, and nobody's committing fraud by defaulting new hires at 3%. It's closer to a gap that inertia quietly lives inside of, a form filled out once, on a busy first day, that most people never open again for years. The 401k match is often described as free money, and it is, but free money with a minimum purchase requirement attached to it, one that's never printed anywhere in bold. The fix, when you actually look at it, is almost anticlimactic. It isn't a new investment strategy or a spending overhaul. It's a single number sitting in the same benefits portal you used on day one, usually under a tab most people never click twice, labeled something forgettable, like plan highlights or contribution details. And the number you're looking for is the minimum deferral percentage required to receive the maximum match. The gap between the two co-workers in this video wasn't work ethic, income, or financial sophistication. It was 2 percentage points, sitting untouched since an onboarding form nobody thought to revisit. So picture the version of tonight where you actually open the app instead of scrolling past it. You find the contribution rate field, it says 3%, and you already know what it needs to say. Changing it takes about the same amount of time as reading this sentence. You type 5, hit confirm, and close the app before you've even finished the thought. I should really check that formula more carefully someday. You don't feel richer. Nothing about tonight looks different. The only thing that changed is which side of the threshold your next paycheck lands on, which is exactly the kind of change this whole video has been about. That's the pattern underneath a lot of the quiet financial traps on this channel. The expensive mistake rarely looks like a mistake in the moment. It looks like a form you already filled out, a default you didn't touch, a number that seemed reasonable enough not to double-check. Whether it costs you $59,500 for a 2-point gap, or the full $238,000 for walking past the enrollment screen altogether, the money was never hidden. It was just sitting on the other side of a setting most people assume is already correct. It's also worth saying plainly, none of this means the match itself is a trick, or that 401k plans are secretly working against you. The match is real money, genuinely offered, genuinely valuable. The trap isn't the benefit, it's the assumption that a benefit configures itself correctly just because you showed up and clicked through the paperwork once. The employer isn't hiding the threshold, it's printed in the plan documents, in language dense enough that almost nobody reads it twice after their first week on the job. If you've never actually checked what percentage you need to hit your full match, that's genuinely worth 5 minutes this week before the next paycheck runs on the number you never chose on purpose. If this is the kind of thing you think about, stick around. That's basically what this channel is. And before you go, have you ever checked your own match percentage? Or did this video just talk you into it? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone.